working in Apollo Dental Clinic, Nungambakkam branch, Chennai. Hoping all of you watching this program today are safe and are taking utmost precautions that have to be taken care during this global crisis time. Since we are compelled to stay at home, it is essential that we learn something new every day, keep ourselves occupied, and at the same time advance our knowledge regarding some essential health issues. Speaking of which, dental health is an essential component of our overall well-being and requires daily need care, especially in patients with diabetes, which is quite common in our country today. The two big D's that I'm going to talk about today is diabetes mellitus and dental health care, which are interrelated and have a mutual relationship. That is, diabetes can affect your oral health, especially your periodontal tissues. At the same time, your periodontitis can have an impact on your systemic health, including a poor glucose control. Now coming to our topic, that is, what is diabetes mellitus? Diabetes is a chronic disorder which is characterized by elevated levels of glucose in your body. Now the prevalence of glucose in our country is, diabetes is 7.8%, and India is considered as the diabetic capital of the world. Now the types of diabetes, that is type 1, which is usually seen in children, and this mainly happens because of the beta cell destruction, that is, the insulin will not be produced. Type 2 is seen in adults. It's because of the insulin resistance and mainly because of the obesity or decrease in the physical inactivity. Type 3 is gestational type, and where the patient gets diabetes during his pregnancy time, and soon she will recover this after the delivery. Now coming to how the homeostasis of the blood glucose level is maintained in our body. So for example, when you have a meal, the blood glucose level rises up. At this point of time, the beta cells of the pancreas is stimulated and secretes insulin. The insulin takes up the glucose and converts into glycogen. This will be stored in the liver. So automatically the blood glucose level comes down. Similarly, when you skip a meal or you're on starvation, the blood glucose level is low. At this point of time, the alpha cells of the pancreas will stimulate glucagon or secrete glucagon, and this will break down the glycogen that is stored in your body into glucose. Automatically, your blood glucose level comes up. This is how the homeostasis of blood glucose level is maintained in our body. Now coming to the diagnostic criteria for diabetes mellitus. Glycated hemoglobin, that is HbA1c, if it is beyond 7%, it's considered as diabetes. Similarly, fasting blood sugar should be below or equal to 126 mg per dl. If random blood sugar is within, it's considered normal if it is within 200 mg per dl. So now coming to the complications of diabetes mellitus, you can segregate into two things, that is microvascular complications and macrovascular complications. Microvascular complications are retinopathy, neuropathy, nephropathy. Macrovascular complications are when it's affecting your large blood vessels and it causes any cardiovascular diseases like ischemic heart diseases, stroke, etc. Coming to our topic today, that is oral manifestations of diabetes mellitus. The first complication is periodontitis. The other complications are dental caries, salivary gland dysfunction, burning mouth syndrome. There is also, you can notice even oral candidiasis, mobility will be seen of teeth, and delayed wound healing is seen as an oral manifestation of diabetes mellitus. Coming to the first one, that is periodontitis, it's considered as the sixth complication of diabetes mellitus. Periodontitis and diabetes share a mutual relationship, as I said earlier. So how diabetes affects the oral tissues of periodontitis? Now, in your saliva, there is glucose present. So this glucose, when in the patients with uncontrolled diabetes, this rise in the glucose level in your saliva. So this promotes the growth of the bacteria. So these bacteria combine together to form a layer on the tooth surface. It will be sticky layer that is formed on your tooth surface, which is called as plaque. So at this stage, if a patient is following proper oral hygiene measures, then the plaque will get out on its own. It will burn off on its own. But if there are some patients who are not following the oral hygiene measures properly, so this plaque migrates towards the gums. It enters the gums and it forms inflammation of gums. That is, this condition is called as gingivitis. In this stage, you can see the redness of the gums, swollen gums, and also it will bleed. The gums will bleed easily while you're brushing. If this stage is left untreated, that is, if you don't visit a dentist at this particular time, the infection spreads, goes beyond the gums, it reaches the supporting structures of the teeth. Now the teeth is held together by the supporting structures, that is the bone. So it affects the bone, it causes the bone loss, and soon you can see the mobility of the teeth. So this condition, this stage is called as periodontitis, where the supporting structures of the teeth is affected. Now how diabetes affects periodontitis? See, when there's an inflammation, specific markers are released, inflammatory markers will be released. This enters into your systemic circulation via the periodontal microvasculature. This will increase the insulin resistance in your body. The other complications, that is dental caries, this happens again because of the high level of glucose in your saliva, which will increase the prevalence of dental caries in your oral cavity. Burning mouth syndrome is also noticed, where there will be chronic pain seen on your tongue, mucosal surfaces, or on your floor of the mouth. Oral candidiasis is seen, that is mainly happens because of any medications that you're taking because of diabetes. Delayed wound healing is also seen. This happens because of when there's retardation of repair of the tissues. So these were the complications of diabetes mellitus. Now coming to the dental management of diabetic patients. So this is from a dentist point of view. So there are two things that we have to keep in mind. Two types of patients. One type of patients is like, first type is like when a patient comes to you and is not diagnosed of diabetes, but when you check his oral cavity, you can see some signs and symptoms. So at that particular time, you send the patient to get his glucose level tested and also consult the physician. The second type of patient is when he is diagnosed of diabetes, there are some points that have to be considered now. First thing, take a complete medical history. Take his glucose level, recent one. See if the patient, what type of medication he's on, the type, the time of duration, like what time is he taking, and also the dosage of it. Has he had any hypoglycemic event? Any other complications, like for systemic complications like hypertensive, or is he on any other medication? Now, if at all you're doing the procedure on the same day, then you have to have a glucometer in your clinic, or else tell the patient to get his glycated hemoglobin done. If it is within 7%, you can carry on with the treatment. If he has his fasting blood glucose reports with him, if it is 70 mg per dl or above 150 mg per dl, do not carry on with the procedure. Postpone all the treatments for that day. Now, scheduling appointments for a diabetic patient, some considerations have to be taken into account. That is, for a diabetic patient, always give a morning appointment. 1.5 hours after the breakfast is usually preferred. That is because when the patient is on insulin, the peak level of this injection is shown at 4 to 6 hours. So before that, usually it is better to do the treatment. Then other things that if at all the patient, do not give the patient appointment in the evenings or during any lunch time. If the patient has not taken his medication or if he has fever, please do not carry on with the procedure. It's always better to give the patient prophylactic antibiotics to avoid any delay of wounds or any oral infections. Sometimes the diet modification have to be done. For example, if the patient is going under conscious sedation, at that point of time the insulin dosage has to be altered with the consultation of the physician. Also, sometimes if the patient won't be able to eat anything after the procedure, so at that time consult with the physician and again do the diet modification and also the dosage changes. Now coming to the last topic, that is hypoglycemia. This is a common complication that occurs on the dental chair. What is hypoglycemia? Hypoglycemia is basically when a patient is on insulin or other oral antibiotic or oral diabetic medication, the effect exceeds the physiologic need. So at that particular time you can see a severe decrease in the glucose level. So this is called as hypoglycemia. The signs and symptoms that you can see on the dental chair are the patient may have tremors, dizziness and mood changes, confusion, seizures and sometimes even loss of consciousness. What is the treatment plan? First, make the patient lie on the supine position and then if the patient is and see to that he gets proper airway. If the patient is able to eat, give him 15 to 20 grams of glucose or 3 to 4 spoons of glucose. If the patient is unable to eat, then if an IV line is there in your clinic, then give him 30 to 40 ml of dextrose in water. If at all IV line is not in your clinic, then inject 1 mg of glucagon IM or subcutaneously. So this is how you can manage a hypoglycemic patient. So to conclude, oral health care is very important in maintaining nowadays, so that it does not have an adverse effect on our systemic health. A diabetic patient should visit the dentist every 6 months, or if he has undergone any other treatment, periodontal treatment, please visit the dentist every 3 to 4 months. So now I can you can ask questions. I'll be glad to answer. So the first question, what is the treatment for oral infection in diabetic patient? See, now oral infection, that is mainly candidiasis. Candidiasis is an effect of the medications that a patient is taking for diabetes. So in such, you can see some velvety patches on your tongue. So what you can do is, you should use a soft brush. Do not rub that area. Also, if your dentist has prescribed you antifungal medication, continue with it. Home remedies will be, you can do salt water gargling and also gargle your mouth with water and a pinch of baking soda. This is the treatment for oral candidiasis. What are the pre-op and post-op management of placing an implants in diabetic patients? Okay, so yeah, so now placing an implant, first of all, is if your bone level, if your thickness is good, then you can place an implant. But in uncontrolled diabetes situation, the bone metabolism is altered. So you have to be very careful. If you're only under control, then go for implant placement. So pre-op is again the same thing. Prophylactic antibiotics have to be taken, mouthwash has to be taken. The post-op, the regular intervals have to be, you have to go for regular intervals with the dentist. What are the risk factors for diabetic patient in implant placement? See, for implant placement, if your edentulous area is long span edentulous area, then I wouldn't suggest you to go for implants. If you have lost your teeth because of periodontitis, so already your bone is compromised, in that situation please don't go ahead with implants. Other conditions, if you have any medical conditions, uncontrolled diabetes, do not go ahead with implant placement. How often should a diabetic patient visit a dentist? Not only diabetic patient, I would suggest everyone should visit the dentist every 6 months. If you are having diabetes, then, and if it's uncontrolled, please visit the dentist every 2 to 3 months. And if you have gone under periodontal treatment, then you have to visit. The frequent recalls are needed. Can oral manifestation be seen even in type 1 diabetes? Yes. Type 1 diabetes mainly it occurs in children, so you can see a lot of dental caries in a type 1 diabetes. Oral manifestation of type 1 diabetes will be, you can see a lot of dental caries. What are the first few signs in diabetic patient, oral signs? Okay, see, the first few signs will be redness, swollen gums, and when you're brushing your teeth, you can see there's a lot of bleeding. So that is the first few signs that you will notice. Can root canal be done in diabetic patients? Yeah, root canal can be done in diabetic patients. Just see to that you have had your proper meal before coming to the clinic. And also, if at all your dentist has told you that there's a periapical infection, the dentist will surely give you the prophylactic antibiotics. Please take it properly, and then you can go ahead with the root canal treatment. Home oral hygiene measures for diabetic patients. Brush your teeth regularly 2 times daily, use a mouthwash. Also, you can go ahead with salt water gargling, use a toothpaste which has fluoride content, and please visit the dentist regularly. What exactly is the role of prophylactic antibiotics in diabetic patients? So antibiotics basically will usually there's delay of wound healing, so it will prevent that delay of wound healing in diabetic patients. So use of antibiotics is necessary, and also to prevent any oral infection. So is there any other questions? Precautions to be taken during extraction. Yeah, so the extraction precautions will be, again, the dentist will tell you to take prophylactic antibiotics to prevent any complications further. After the extraction, please follow the instructions given by your dentist. That is, salt water gargling is a must. Do not brush in that area, and before coming for extraction, please have your proper meal. Get your sugar level tested to avoid any hypoglycemic event, and take your medications and come. Which is the preferred investigation to accurately monitor the status of blood glucose control in diabetic patients? So the preferred one is glycated hemoglobin, that is HbA1c. So what is actually HbA1c? That's what is glycated hemoglobin. Here the glucose is attached to your red blood cell in your circulation. So the lifespan of your RBC, the red blood cell, is 120 days. So what will happen is it will give you accurate 3-month value of your glucose level. So it's always better to go ahead with glycated hemoglobin to monitor your glucose level. So any other questions? So yeah, I guess we can wind up the session. So I would request everyone to take care during this pandemic time, wear your masks, and do not go out anywhere. So stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you. Bye.